Today we are going to talk about tuners. This is part 3. We'll put a link up here to part 2 and part 1 because we're diving into this tuner thing a little bit more. We did last week all clip-on tuners under 30 bucks. Probably one of the biggest questions that comes up in the comments when we talk about tuners. Do app tuners work? Are they worth it? Should I get one? Is it going to be accurate enough? That's what we're going to talk about today. What's going on? So, tuners. Super important, man. Like, really important. For example, if you are a new player and you don't know how important a tuner is, I'm going to show you in a few minutes. If it's off just a little bit, it can completely change, i.e. ruin, your guitar playing experience for you and for other people. But for you, especially, like if you're trying to learn and you sound terrible because you're just a little bit out of tune, that can be super discouraging. Problem is it's another piece of gear to buy. App tuners are kind of cool. So when I mean app tuners, I mean we have floor tuners, you know, that go on a pedal board, and then they have these clip-on ones that go anywhere on Amazon from like $10 on up to like 70 bucks for the Peterson one. Let's say you're just dabbling, just barely dabbling in the guitar stuff, and you want to tune. App tuner might be the way to go because it's on your phone. And there are free ones, and there are some pretty good free ones. How does it even work? Well, let's talk real quick. We discussed it in part 1 of our video, but I'll just run through it super quick right now. The way a clip-on tuner works is there's a crystal in there called a piezo crystal. And so every time you strike a note, that crystal vibrates. When it vibrates, it creates an electrical impulse. That electrical impulse then goes into the little computer chip in your tuner, and it compares how many times per second the string is vibrating to the computer, or what the computer knows to be accurate, and it tells you whether you're sharp or flat. So sharp would be if you're too high, or flat would be if you're too low. That's how one of these tuners works. Well, how does a cell phone tuner work? It's a little different, and it's a little fancier actually. Basically what it does is it just takes the actual sound that's coming into the phone. Like there's a speaker on your phone, right? Or I apologize, there's a microphone on your phone. It's the one you talk into. And actually, most of these new smartphones have multiple microphones for noise canceling and all that sorts of stuff. So you plug the string on your guitar, that microphone hears it, it then puts it into a computer, which is much more powerful than the little clip-on tuner on the end of your guitar, and it does it basically algorithmically. It doesn't do it by vibration as much as it does like listen to it. It almost, I guess for lack of a better word, it tunes by ear to your phone. It's sort of weird. So you might be saying, I've tried one of these before and they sucked. How long ago was that? Because phones are getting infinitely better. Like we just talked about, I mean, back in the old school days, like years ago, when some of you may not even have been born, a cell phone was just a cell phone, and it was just a microphone here and a speaker here, and that was it. Now it's a computer that can be used as a phone sometimes, even though we never do. I don't talk on my phone. But it also has multiple microphones like we talked about. It has much more processing power, and it can do this in a way that old phones couldn't. So even just a couple of years ago, if you had an older phone, it might not have worked very well. And now with a more modern phone, and with the app companies, the companies that actually write this stuff, taking advantage of higher end technology in a phone, now they can make something that's way more accurate than it was a couple of years ago. So let's look at a couple of common ones, and we're going to talk about them and how cool they are and do they work. I previously compared all these apps to my TC Electronic pedal tuner by plugging the guitar in versus over the air with the phone. I also compared it to the best of our clip-on tuner shootout, which was the D'Addario one. So I have the D'Addario one on the back of the guitar, and we're going to use that for our immediate comparison today. So here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to show you some interesting things. First of all, we're going to turn on our D'Addario tuner on the back of our guitar. Okay, so I've got it on the back of my peg head right here, so now I can literally just tune my guitar using that tuner. Okay, so I've got it as accurate as possible. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the phone, go through these tuners. Now these are probably some of the most popular ones in the iPhone App Store. Now I don't have an Android. I'm not sure if all of these will be available on the Android store. So I apologize for that because I just have an iPhone. So I'm going with what I've got here. We're going to start with free stuff first, and then we're going to go to paid stuff, and we're going to see if it's like imperative that you pay for a better one. The first one we're going to look at is the Guitar Tuna. Now this one I've used quite a bit over the last few years. So let's do our high E. Alright, so as we tuned this, we saw all the strings were basically right on, except the low E looked like it was going a little sharp. Oh, actually that's what it says on this tuner too. Okay, so I feel like as near as makes no difference, the Guitar Tuner is exactly dead on with the one that's on the peg head, which I trust the one on the peg head. Also, what's really interesting is we've got all these cicadas buzzing around us. You can probably hear them, and I'm not getting any crosstalk. Like, that is an obvious frequency, and I'm not getting any of that in the phone. Yeah, it's not causing any issue. Guitar Tune is cool. It's got a bunch of tools in there. You can do alternative tunings, all that sort of stuff. The one thing I don't like about it is it's got a bunch of ads in it, and you have to pay for the paid one. Otherwise, you have to deal with ads coming up before you tune your guitar every time. The next one we're going to go to is the Guitar Toolkit. This is another one that has a bunch of in-app purchases. Here is the tuner. Let's tune it again. High E shows it a little sharp. That's showing the low E a little flat. So, and this is typical of these types of tuners, that the lower frequencies are harder for them to lock onto. If you were to try to tune a bass with this, it would be actually even more difficult. Introduce a bunch of background noise, and this tuner does not do as well. I think one of the things that this tuner sells, is all the other things. So you can learn scales in here. There's a metronome. You can learn basic chords. One of the other things I do like about it though is you can choose which tuning you want to use, all that stuff. So it is helpful. I don't like this tuner, and here's why. I don't like how the needle is kind of all over the place, especially with background noise. It disappears, it moves around a lot. It's not my favorite. Is it accurate enough to use? Absolutely, and there's a couple of those other really cool features for beginner guitar players, especially if you're just learning and wanting to learn chord structures and wanting to learn scales. This is all in there for free, so it's really cool. It's other tools outside of the tuner, and the tuner is actually super accurate. To rely on in a live environment, not so much. This tuner you probably want to use when you're at home by yourself and nobody around. Here's the Fender Tuner. Now this is really an interesting, I like this layout. Now watch what happens if you go flat. that cool? Super simple. I really, really like this. It has a bunch of other features in there. Of course, it links you to the Fender's Play thing and a bunch of other not tuner related stuff, that subscriptions and junk. So you can look into it. On the face of it though, I really do like this. And I compared this pretty hard, because I knew this was free, and I compared this pretty hard. It doesn't have ads in it and stuff, to all these other tuners. And honestly, this thing works really, really, really well. Let's go to the Boss Tuner. Now the Boss Tuner is pretty much, the TU3 has been the standard for all pedal tuners forever, right? Until recently. I mean, you know, TC Electronic and Peterson and stuff, they've come out with some really good pedal tuners that are really good too. But we have all seen the Boss TU3 on pedal boards in many, many videos and many like rig rundowns on Premier Guitar. Did you know that that term rig rundown is actually trademarked? And if I put that in a title of one of my videos, that they'll call me and tell me to take it down. I just learned that recently. Kind of interesting. Okay, so let's look at this tuner. It's really cool. As we go across these tuners, you'll notice that they're pretty much exactly the same. And they're pretty much within pitch. That I haven't had to you go and you check all your harmonics, you check your fifths, and most of these tuners have been super, super accurate all across the board, including this Boss Tuner, which is pretty cool. This has some really interesting settings too. You can change the reference pitch if you're one of those wacky 432 hertz people. You can change the sensitivity, so if it's picking up too much background noise and stuff, well, that's in another setting. You can change the background color, you can change the color of the LEDs on there. There's a whole bunch of settings in here. Noise reduction for background noise, all that kind of stuff. Really cool, and this tuner is free, and it's really good, and it's really accurate in comparison to basically any of these other ones that I've tested. And it's familiar, like it looks just like the regular one. Don't stomp on your phone when you use it, but other than that, it's pretty cool. We've gone through 4 tuners that are pretty popular on at least the iPhone App Store. They're all tuners that I've had experience with in the past. Now the 5th one is not free. The 5th one costs $10, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember. At the time of making this video, I can't remember. There's a link to it in the description below. You can click on it. This tuner here is interesting because it's Peterson, and Peterson makes a strobe tuner for your iPhone, and it is super interesting because you would think that it would be the most accurate tuner ever. I'm going to go ahead and tune up again. Let me just double check to make sure that I'm 100% on with some of these other tuners, okay? Now this is how a strobe tuner works, even a real strobe tuner, but on the phone it's kind of the same thing. Let's go ahead and let's tune the guitar up and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So that string is basically in tune. See, when I talk it starts to mess around, but watch this. Let me go flat. See how it starts moving all around? So if it's going down, it means it's flat and I need to bring it more sharp. So let's tune this, get this string up to pitch. And you can see there that it is in tune when all of the strobing motion stops. You can also see the numeric value of it. Theoretically, according to this app, I am within 1.1 cents or I'm within 1 cent actually of being totally in tune, which is pretty cool. Look how flat the low E it thinks the low E is. That's pretty close. Okay, so we got it as close as we're going to get it. Now here's the problem. It's not in tune. It's not in tune. It's sharp. Way sharp. Like enough where I can hear it. That's out of tune, man. I tried this like 10 times and compared it against other tuners, and it always did exactly the same thing. The D string and the lower E string went sharp every time. I cannot fix it. I don't know what the problem is, but it does not do it on any other tuner that I have. Any of the app tuners, any of the floor tuners, any of the clip tuners, nothing. Only the Peterson iStrobo soft one. It's not in tune. Now watch. It's dead on to this tuner. Now that we know it's dead on, let's go look at the Boss Tuner again. Dead on. Now let's go look at the Strobe Tuner again, and we'll look at that low E. Showing way flat, but it's not. It's not. If I tune it to where the iStrobo tuner says, it's not gonna be right. I'm not gonna use it. It costs $10. So let's talk about which one I would suggest. Okay, so after checking all these, playing with them all, messing with them all, now I was doing this for about a week. So since the last video came out, I've been playing with these, or since I recorded the last video. And I think of all of them, if we're talking about ease of use and just overall free and ease of use and accuracy, the Fender Tuner is pretty stinking good. I love that whole sliding circle thing, especially for a beginner player. It definitely is easy to use, makes a lot of sense. The free Boss Tuner is pretty awesome too. If you are going to dive more into learning scales and, you know, using it as a wider tool than just tuning a guitar, then this guitar toolkit is pretty cool too. They do have some like purchasable add-on stuff, which is, you know, you have to get into paying money, but at least for free you can tune some stuff, which I think is really, really cool. And all of these tuners, except for that iStrobo Soft, were accurate enough to use on a daily basis. Now, here's the thing. If it's a really loud environment, the phone can't discern noise. There are some apps that have noise reduction in them. The iStrobosoft does have that, but I wouldn't use it because it's not accurate enough for me, which is so weird because I think it's a Peterson product. The Boss Tuner, I think, has some noise canceling in it too. So you can play with that and see if you need it. But in my opinion, using a tuner like this on your phone is more like a, if I forgot my tuner. Like, I pull it out a lot of times when I'm like hanging out with friends and they're like, hey, I have this guitar, you want to check it out? Oh, sure. I pull out my phone and I tune it up to play on it for a couple of minutes. Do I use it at a gig? No. Do I use it to tune my guitars before I record a video, for example? No. I want it to be way more accurate than that and not have to worry about background noise and stuff. So for that stuff, I use a real pedal tuner when I want to be the most accurate. Then the next most portable would be your clip-on tuners, and then I think this, for a more experienced guitar player, is just going to be like a backup thing in his pocket. Now, if you're a beginner and you don't have any other tuner, then it's fantastic because it'll at least get you in tune enough to play, and it's free. And I think you will dig it. That's what I've got. Thanks for hanging out for part 3 of these guitar tuner things. If you have experience with any of these, put it in the comments below because I would like to hear what your experiences have been. Now, I know a lot of people are probably going to jump in the comments and say all kinds of crazy things like I was doing it wrong or something with the iStrobosoft, but you know what? I don't care. I've messed with it in a bunch of different environments and I can't get it to work for me, so I'm not going to use it. That's the cool part about all of this, is there's so many choices out there that if you find one that's more accurate in your personal situation, then use it. But for me, that one wasn't it. So, get in the comments, chat about it, be nice, obviously. If you're not nice, you're out of there. Other than that, thanks for hanging out, and make sure you check out our other videos. We have videos every day of the week now. Can you believe that? It's crazy. Check out the links below. Use those. That helps out the channel. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you soon.